When
Hey, it's Friday, and we have some feedback. Everybody, welcome to the table. This is The Edge, Voices from the Edge. It's our We the People, we the people unite, and it's our Roundtable Friday. And we have a full table today. August and Keisha, Maureen, Katie, Lori, Andrea, Roseanne, Marley, and Momo. How's it going? It's been a week.
Hey,
a hell of a week. Oh my goodness. We have a very varied topic show for everyone tonight. So we are going to, I have a few words just to say before we kick it off. If you saw the thumbnail, crimes against humanity is our theme, and that's our opening story. But it's not just about our opening story. We are witnessing crimes against humanity on a daily basis and all around us. So, I mean, if you've been watching what's happening around the world, it feels very heavy. Not just one story, not just one place, but everywhere you look, there's conflict, there's suffering, there's tension, there's division, going back to Gaza. And then now with tensions with Iran, to what's happening right here at home with our own politics, the rhetoric and the way we're actually treating each other. It starts to feel like something bigger is going on, and we continue to say that. So today we're going to talk about a phrase that carries a lot of weight: crimes against humanity. And that's not something that you throw around lightly. It is a legal term. It does have meaning, but it also forces us to ask a deeper question. At what point do patterns of harm, of suffering, and power cross the line that we can't ignore anymore? And this is also our history. And Keisha's going to talk about that, because today we're looking at a range of stories, from the UN declaring slavery a crime against humanity, to concerns about Christian nationalism, to political decisions and rhetoric and global narratives that are shaping how we see the world. And while these stories may seem disconnected, oftentimes when we do step back, and we do that here, we start to see the threads and what those threads mean and what the power means, the control, who gets protected, who doesn't. So tonight, we're not just, doing this headline by headline by headline. We are asking and talking about this bigger question. And so the question is, how do we get through this with our humanity intact? Right? Because sometimes it's hard, because sometimes we probably think and say things that we think, wow, because of everything that's happening, because of everything that's going on. So I also want to keep that in mind. So I will turn it over to Keisha to talk about our first, while I get her media set up. Keisha, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Kim. So Wednesday was a big day. Wednesday, March 25th, was a big day, not just because it was my birthday, but also because it is the day that the UN, United Nations, adopted a resolution declaring that the transatlantic slave trade was the gravest crime against humanity. I thought this was pretty monumental news. This is not something that I personally expected to see. We have some supporting materials that we'll show, and then we can discuss what we think this means and if it actually has a lasting impact. But I think this is pretty important because several of us in this panel are descendants of enslaved people. So I imagine this is near and dear to our hearts. This was a resolution that was led by the country of Ghana. And Ghana is obviously one of the countries that was greatly impacted by the transatlantic slave trade. And having done my ancestry through ancestry.com, I learned that I have something like 30% Ghanaian ancestry. So this just feels like extra meaningful to me. So Kim, if we could play the first video.
Absolutely.
General Assembly resolutions are not legally binding. This resolution is meant to set the legal foundation, recognizing that the transatlantic slave trade was the gravest crime against humanity. It also calls for reparations. Now, this resolution passed overwhelmingly with the support of over 120 countries. It was an initiative of Ghana.
History, as we know, is rarely simple. It is layered, it is complex, and at times uncomfortable. This resolution does not deny that complexity. It does not ignore the many dimensions of historical experience. Rather, it recognizes that even within complexity, there are moments in history that stand apart, moments defined by their scale, their systemization, and their impact on humanity. To acknowledge this is not to diminish any other history. It is to deepen our collective moral awareness.
While the resolution passed overwhelmingly, more than 50 countries abstained, most notably France.
Nous regrettons aussi
We regret that this resolution seems to establish a hierarchy amongst crimes against humanity. This gives rise to serious legal difficulties and runs the risk of creating a competition against historic tragedies that should not be compared and done to the detriment of victims.
The European Union, as a bloc, decided to abstain, citing what they called legal and factual problems with the draft. The only 3 countries to vote against this resolution: Israel, Argentina, and the United States. Gabriel Elizondo, Al Jazeera, at the United Nations in New York.
Of course, those were the 3.
Yeah, no surprise there.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that the European Union voted against it, or not. Sorry, didn't vote against it. They abstained as a bloc. I don't buy the reasoning that France gave. Maybe I'm just too much of a skeptic to believe that statement at face value. I'm curious what you all think.
What would be another reason? That's an interesting.
Well, I believe it has a lot to do with the European Union as a bloc is starting to go more right. And I think the only thing that really stopped this progression to the right from advancing really fast was the election of Donald Trump and watching what he's doing to the United States. And I think that's the only thing that saved the European Union from going in the same direction that we went.
I think it definitely saved Canada.
Yes.
Because they were heading in that direction in a big way.
Well, interestingly, Canada also abstained, which is very disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is weird, especially historically during slavery. Had a lot of Canadians were against slavery, and they helped slaves, like, when they went into Canada. So that is odd that they're doing that. But I guess it's the current political climate that Momo was speaking of, where people feel like if you acknowledge the truth, that's hurting people who never experienced come from like slavery. They're people coming from slavery. I don't know. It's weird. I know New Zealand's doing that too. It's like this thing where if we acknowledge your pain and what we put you through, then that makes us less than, or I don't know. I don't get it.
I wonder if the fact that it called for reparations had anything to do with it as well.
Absolutely.
That's true, yeah.
Jazzy has a good comment where it says it's always the government, it's not the people. Yeah. And that's so true. And who else was not surprised about Israel and the United States?
But who voted? I mean, yes, there was a representative of the United States, but you got to think about it. It's not the entire Canada voted on that. There are representatives that voted, and that's their ideology.
Mm-hmm. Well, didn't he say say something about, and I'm paraphrasing, diminishing other victims in this somehow. And I'm wondering what does he mean by that, Keisha?
It's basically, I mean, basically it sounds like he's saying, like, we can't say that the transatlantic slave trade was worse than any other atrocity or crime against humanity that was committed. So to say that this is the gravest crime against humanity, this lessens the meaning and the impact of other tragedies, which and also brought up the legal complications that this would cause.
But usually when you're the individual that is committing the sin or committing the atrocity, you're not going to hold yourself accountable. You want to wipe it, slide it to the side and act like nothing happened.
I think through what Keisha was saying too, like, it's like them trying to, when you see people like try to compare whose trauma is worse. And it's like, at the end of the day, traumas like this are still obviously crimes against humanity. And we shouldn't be playing that game of, well, this situation that we went through had it worse than these, because none of us were there. None of us went through it. And it's still awful all the way around. And that's what matters.
I just think it describes the truth. Like, it went on for hundreds of years. And then it created in that system, that ideology just became systemic. It just didn't end with slavery. Then you had Jim Crow. Then we had to fight for our civil rights. And then we're still going through it. Like the whole prison system. It's the same thing. There was an obvious difference between what Black Americans went through, or anybody who was a part of the transatlantic slavery like system. It's completely different. And I think anybody who has ever, their ancestors have ever gone through something, anything of crime against humanity, I think they would understand. And I don't think they would be like, oh my God, why are you elevating or like making it much bigger for Black Americans than, like, say, the Holocaust. I think people who have gone through this, or their ancestors have gone through it, has definitely would understand. And like everybody is saying, it's the government that is
because they have desensitized everyone. A lot of people do not feel it, like especially like what the Jewish people went through, what the Indians went through, because they have desensitized them. It's like everyone is forgetting the horror that people experience.
Just to piggyback on what August was saying, I was thinking exactly that about the Jewish people. Do you think that was like a slight nod to Israel, that France is supporting you in the background about,
Oh, maybe, because I can see that.
For the Holocaust? I mean, I just find it interesting that France would do that. I mean, I've been there a number of times. They've got a melting pot of people in that country. So I don't get it.
I wonder how that happened. How did they get all those people from different cultures? Kim, can we play the second video? It contextualizes the situation a little bit more.
All righty.
It was International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade. And at the United Nations General Assembly, the world was asked one simple question. Do you acknowledge that the transatlantic slave trade was the gravest crime against humanity and that reparations are owed? 123 countries said yes. 52 countries, silent. And 3 said no. Can you guess who they are? The resolution was spearheaded by Ghana, speaking on behalf of the entire African bloc, the largest regional bloc in the UN. Ghana's president, John Dramani Mahama, addressed the assembly ahead of the vote. He said, I quote, Today, we come together in solemn solidarity to affirm truth and pursue a route to healing and reparative justice. Mahama also noted the significance of the day in which this vote is taking place, honoring the memory of around 13 million African men, women, and children enslaved over several centuries. The resolution itself didn't mince its words. It named the trafficking and the enslavement of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity by reason of its definitive break in world history, its scale, its duration, its systemic nature, its brutality, and enduring consequences. Consequences that continue to structure the lives of all people through racial systems of labor, property, and capital. It calls on member nations to engage in talks on reparatory justice, including a full and formal apology, measures of restitution, compensation, rehabilitation, and changes to laws and programs to address racism and systemic discrimination. And how did the world respond? 123 countries said yes. The majority of African, Caribbean, and Latin American nations, countries whose very history are inseparable from slavery and colonization. 52 countries, however, abstained. The United Kingdom and all 27 members of the European Union abstained. That's Britain, which dominated transatlantic slave trade for over a century. That's France, Portugal, Spain, the Netherlands, and many more. The very nations whose ships, ports, and plantations made the slave trade possible. They all chose not to vote yes. Then there's the 3 countries that said no. Have you guessed who they are? Argentina, Israel, and the US. The US said it does not recognize the legal right to reparations for historical wrongs that were not illegal under international law at the time they occurred. It also objected to the resolution's attempt to rank crimes against humanity, arguing that doing so diminishes the suffering of other atrocities. Are we shocked? The resolution, of course, is non-binary. No country is legally compelled to pay a single penny. But 123 nations just told the world where they stand. And so did the 55 who didn't. Yesterday was International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery. And
Is that it?
That's it, yeah.
I'm not surprised about the UK because my daughter spent, about a semester and plus 6 weeks studying abroad. And she, came back and she says, Mom, it is really racist. And, and I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, she has friends who are Black. And they're fighting, just to study there. And they came from the US. And she was very brutally honest about it. And, and I'm grateful that she was. But yeah, she says it's really still bad there. And that could give you an idea. And with UK kind of leading the European Union most of the time, that's probably the reason why everyone abstained, because they don't want to admit that they were wrong.
I agree with that. And I also think one of the things that struck me about what the US said is that enslaving people was not illegal at the time.
Oh, God.
So we shouldn't have to pay reparations or admit any kind of fault for something that was not illegal at the time. And I think that is some of the most messed up logic, because you know who knew that this was wrong? The people who were being enslaved. They knew it was wrong. And there are other people who were not enslaved. There are white people. There are other people, if they're Native Americans, who knew it was wrong. Just because it wasn't illegal at the time doesn't make it okay. There are plenty of things that have been legal that were not okay. So that argument is just BS, and it's just another way for the US to escape any kind of accountability or taking responsibility for its part in this horrific crime against humanity. And the other thing is the fact that Portugal and France and the Netherlands and the UK, like she said, your ships are the ones who brought people across the Atlantic to participate in the system. And then you want to you want to abstain because, like Lori said, it seems you don't want to admit that you had anything to do with it. So you don't want to admit that you're at fault. And that's shameful.
And
well,
she
legally, if they
go ahead. Marlene?
Because legally, if they admit it, then they have to take accountability. And that's what they're avoiding, too.
Well, yeah. I was wondering economically if they're thinking if we admit it, then we're going to have to pay up. But she made the point that it is not obligatory.
Right,
They would
exactly.
not. It's you know.
Well,
Yeah,
the part of the
complicated.
problem is we still consider it less than, and it's funny, it's just the color of your skin and the texture of your hair, and all of a sudden you're worthless and or less than. And one day, I believe everybody's going to answer for mistreating people.
Mm-hmm. And why do we continue to put up with it? Why do we keep putting these same people back into these positions to represent us? We have to take accountability for this.
Well, it wasn't us that did it, but it was underlying people, the message, they underlying messages. They knew who to vote for. They knew they wanted Trump because they knew most of over half of this country is still racist.
I don't mean to cut you, but when I say us, I'm talking Americans, period.
Well, I'm surprised every time a black person votes with them or a brown person. So
yeah,
I'm surprised. I'm shocked.
So I'm curious, so this is non-binding, this resolution is non-binding. It makes recommendations for things like reparations and restitution, returning artifacts that are museums to the countries that they were stolen from. Do you think that this will have any impact, that this will create any change?
I think maybe in a little bit. Where for me, the change is, for me, like inside my soul, I think this is amazing. And it's just that people that I don't know recognize the pain and the crime against humanity that happened to my ancestors and how that's still trickling down today. Just the acknowledgement to me is a change.
I agree, Marlene. That was the thing that got me. Not that it's going to move the needle, but the collective acknowledgement that it was in fact a crime against humanity, because unlike what they tried to make African people, they were and are human. And so that was a crime against humanity.
Yeah.
I think stating that, having that is huge. Where I was going is racists will always be racist.
Yeah.
And that will not change their minds, unfortunately.
So Barbara Palmer, we're just going to read out what you say. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. We continue to encourage you to please put your comments up there so we can see what you're thinking, how you feeling about these topics that we bring to you each and every day, and like and subscribe. So, Barbara, you say, I feel as a white person, this is our cue to publicly shame our country for not recognizing us. I hear you.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to France for a minute. I think part of the reason why they reacted the way they did is because when they owned Louisiana, they were part of the slave trade. Like they brought in African slaves to Louisiana, and they had a thing called the Black Code that basically, what does it say? I forget what forced all enslaved people to be baptized and educated in the Catholic faith, prohibited enslaved people from carrying weapons, owning property, or marrying without permission, allowed for extreme punishment, including torture, mutilation, and execution, mandated feeding, clothing, and care for sick or elderly slave owners, included the expulsion of all Jews from the colonies. So they have a pretty horrible, history there. And I think that's why.
They also bankrupted Haiti, and they still need to pay for that.
Yeah, so they're not
Katie's
innocent.
right because of what France did.
Yeah.
It usually comes down to money of some sort.
Mhm.
Unfortunately. Keisha, we're coming up 5 minutes to the hour, so.
Yeah, the last thing I want to say is we have said this multiple times that the United States is not going to thrive and flourish if we do not acknowledge the original sin of enslavement. And so this is just another step backwards, in my opinion, the fact that our representative voted against this resolution, because it's just another way of denying the truth and pretending that what happened didn't happen. And until we acknowledge the original sin and pay for it, we're not going to move forward. And it'll be at all of our peril, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. One more question before we go on. I think I know the answer. Do you think if it were not the Trump administration, that decision would have been different?
I don't think so. Well, maybe if Kamala, maybe, but I don't know.
I think it probably would have been, because we've been going in that direction. I truly believe in the hearts of heart there would have been a different. They would have at least tried to acknowledge now reparations, and that would be a totally different topic. But at least the start would be that let's acknowledge that this took place. So yes, in my heart,
yeah.
So one thing I was thinking about. Perfect. Thank you, Keisha. Such an important topic.
Yeah,
Glad that there's that's a huge step in the right direction. Huge step in the right direction. So, okay, we are going to turn it over to Maureen, as we're going to talk about the other side of this coin.
Oh, yeah. That's out there too. If anybody saw Hexeth this week, praying over people and bringing Christianity into not separating them. Our First Amendment always has said the separation of church and state are primarily derived from the First Amendment, which prohibits the government from establishing a religion and favoring one over the other. I'm going to show, or Kim is going to show a video. This pastor, Cody Deese, if you've been watching him on Don Lemon's show, is pretty amazing. He is based in Atlanta, and I think this video explains it all of why it's a problem.
War with Iran, the volume of religious language gets louder. Have you noticed this? As the violence escalates, so do the claims that God is behind it. Now, let me just give you one example. 5 days after a school full of kids in Iran was bombed, Christian pastors were in the Oval Office laying hands on Trump and praying in Jesus' name. Now, we know this pattern. Empire loves religion because religion can make violence sound righteous. It makes domination sound holy. It makes war sound just. Empire hides itself in religion so you believe it's righteous, so you won't question what it produces. It needs to call it God's will so no one has to reckon with the cost. That's why empires use the name of Jesus, not just to persuade the crowd, but to quiet the conscience. But let me be clear. When bombs fall on children and leaders step in front of cameras to ask God to bless it, that is not faith. That is cover. That is religion being used to launder violence, to dress it up, to clean it up, to make it easier to live with. And Jesus has a word for this. When he walked into the temple, he said, "You've made this a den of robbers." This isn't just wrongdoing. This is a system hiding wrongdoing, a sanctuary for injustice. And when faith becomes the soundtrack for empire, Jesus doesn't bless it. He doesn't stand beside it. He doesn't pose for a photo op. He flips tables. I'm not against praying for leaders, but there are moments when another prayer circle is not faithfulness, but avoidance. There are moments when the right word is not amen, but enough. The prophets didn't bless kings, they confronted them. So let me say this plainly. Paula White, Robert Jeffress, Greg Laurie, Jensen Franklin, using the name of Jesus to cover violence, protect power, and burden the vulnerable, that is taking God's name in vain. That is not faith, that is oppression. And when Jesus saw it, he didn't whisper a prayer, he made a scene. He turned tables. Because sometimes the most spiritual act is not protecting the system, but exposing it.
I don't care what you think, and I don't care what you say.
I think most people in.
Whoa. A little bit of scenes there.
Yeah, I find it to be very interesting and very uplifting and really giving the true meaning of what Christianity is supposed to be. And it's not to be mixed with government. And everyone has a right to what they believe or don't believe. And I think we have really gone across the boundaries. Once again, with Trump and his administration, they're messing around with things that they shouldn't be.
That's an interesting comment. So as a veteran and atheist, the military has always favored evangelicals. 9. These are things, if you're not in the military, you don't realize.
Right.
Right? Years, and it was border harassment. Wow. Wow. And that's just similar to what we heard when we talked about this topic before about Hegseth and them calling this Armageddon. Right? This is justified. So what's the difference? I was listening to him. I'm thinking, what's the difference in us saying in Jesus' name, or the pilots pointing their planes at the towers and saying in the name of Allah? I mean, hello?
There is no difference when you're trying to justify violence. It's the same thing. And
yeah, to me, using religion to excuse murder, because that's what this is very characteristic trait that you associate with psychopaths and sociopaths, because they're enabling individuals to avoid guilt and remorse, taking personal accountability. It's really sick. And I don't understand how people don't see it. Like, if you're a Christian, you should you have like Christ consciousness. And Christ would never, ever, ever do the things that Keg's breath is telling people. It's absolutely disgusting.
Well, we know most wars have been fought in the name of religion.
Yeah. I don't understand how it keeps happening.
I don't know how we as America are now involved in a war in the name of some religion.
Yeah.
I don't know how they say Donald Trump is our savior.
Oh God, yeah, I know.
I mean, it's been a while since I've read like my Bible or read a Bible or listened to preachings, but isn't it like, at least in the Bible I've seen, wouldn't Jesus have like hung out with the immigrants and the people in the LGBTQIA plus and the trans community and literally rejected all the people who are swearing in Jesus' name to kill these innocent people? Like, I don't.
Well, let's see. You try to read your Bible.
In the Bible in Matthew.
Whoa, wait a minute.
You don't remember that. You haven't read it in a while, Katie. You're spot on. That's what the Bible says. That's what Jesus is all about. It's about love. Don't get me wrong. He knows about war, because some things he had sent them, like Joshua, to go to war for land and so, but it was for a reason, to wipe out the type of ideology that he knew would turn his people around. So people are not reading their Bibles. So thanks, Katie, for saying that.
You're welcome.
And also too, people are reading the Bible without a real understanding of what it's saying. It's just like the pastor was explaining, and I've done a Bible study. I did a 5-year Bible study, an intensive Bible study where it went through the whole Bible, but it took 5 years to do. And people like to use the Bible, and because things are in the Bible, they say, well, if it's in the Bible, then, God wills it. No, everything, just because it's in the Bible doesn't mean that that's what God stood for. There were a lot of things, atrocities in the Bible that God was just putting in there as a warning. Don't do this. Don't be like this. This is what you need to be fighting. And so, people like to use the Bible in all different kind of ways, but very few people have actually studied the Bible and really know what the Bible says.
Well, one of my favorite.
And apply the Bible to
And
where you walk. It's one thing to read it, but if you're not trying to even apply it, I mean, like, come on. You must not be able to turn that other cheek.
One of my favorite things to argue with people is they'll pick like certain Bible verses and say like, oh, this is what I live by, this is what I choose. And then it's like you read, I forget the book, different book titles, but like, aren't there things about saying like, if you eat shrimp, you're going to go to hell, or like women who menstruate are poison, and like all of these different things that people are like, okay, so if you're going to pick and choose, I'm going to pick and choose right back at you, because it's just so frustrating.
Yeah, and
or to touch pigskin. Remember that great scene?
Yeah, or what was the scene? Yeah, from the West Wing.
The great scene from the West Wing.
When he's like, well, what if they plant 2 different crops next to each other? Like stuff.
Right.
It's the picking and choosing is just.
Yeah. I wanted to do a shout out to Ryan H. Hey, hello, ladies. Yes, we made it another week. Woo. Welcome. Good to see you here.
And that's all I'm saying about the people not really understanding the Bible. The Bible was written in a certain time. It was written in a time where if you ate shellfish that weren't cooked properly, it could kill you. And so therefore, there were warnings about things like that. There were warnings about certain things because in those times, those things could harm you if they were happening. So you have to let go of every single little detail in the Bible and read it for its overall philosophy and what it is trying to teach you, and how it's trying to give you a guide for living your life. And the Bible is all about accountability. And that's just what these people are trying to avoid by using religion and using the Bible. But the Bible is all about accountability. Self-reflection
right.
And accountability.
And also, Momo, they're spinning it to suit their needs.
Mm-hmm. That's what
right now.
Excuse me, and also too, you have to remember, if this was, accurate, all of this stuff was written like what, 2,000 years ago? I mean, imagine how many different editions there are, how many different translations, what is or isn't accurate, and that's something big to think about too.
And what was left out.
Exactly.
So, Maureen, anything else on this topic?
No, great conversation. I have to say, though, and the key is it definitely, our democracy, the Constitution says there's supposed to be a separation of church and state. And the point here, too, look what these guys are doing. Come on, get off of it, Trump and Hegseth, and leave it be. Do your job. Don't tell us how we're supposed to conduct ourselves. Some of us may not even want to be part of a religion.
I mean, my God, could they have picked a worse false prophet than Donald Trump?
I know.
I know. I feel so pent up right now. I'm so angry at everything.
It's hard for me because religion has become such a big money-making machine.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, it's a brand.
But it's a brand. I went to last thing before we move on, I went to church years and years and years ago. Like I said, I'm more spiritual than religious, but one of my best friends, it was a christening, I think. And I swear I was there 45 minutes, almost an hour. 10 minutes was dedicated to some sort of message, and the rest of it was fundraising.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And this is in the big, well-known Crystal Cathedral here in
Well,
Orange
yeah,
County,
I've
right?
been there.
Everybody, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I have no use for that.
Well, this is why I really have been impressed by this pastor, Cody. He talks the way it is. You know, what is he's a true Christian? And I'm not really in. I was raised a Catholic, but that's a whole other story.
Well, just real quick.
Yeah.
Maureen, did you always find it weird when like you went to other churches as a Catholic, like even just like Christian churches, and you're like, this mass is just not organized the same way that ours are? Because you just like with Catholics, it's just so, no matter where you go, what church, it's all the same layout, like all the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
so,
was raised Roman Catholic. You're right.
Yeah, my family wasn't real strict. We weren't from generations back. And I always am very happy and that my family taught us just to be kind, right? And isn't that what we're supposed to be if you're a Christian or a Catholic or a Buddhist or anybody?
Yeah.
Why can't we just care about people and be kind?
when it comes to religion, at the end of the day, I feel like we all should just have the same goal of being kind and loving thy neighbor. And that's what it is at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if you're Muslim or Jewish or Catholic or, you know, that doesn't matter. And it shouldn't. But for some reason, people think it does.
Yeah, they shouldn't. Thank you, Maureen. Great conversation. We are going to switch gears a little bit, and I will turn it over to Andrea for her topic for today.
Well, mine is a little more lighthearted, I think, and somebody that I look up to more than I do Donald Trump. I don't look up to Donald Trump at all, so keep that clear. And so right now, I think I wanted to read over that article first.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can make the lettering any bigger for old people.
Let me see.
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
And it says Sasha Obama, now 24 and navigating adulthood, shares her father's Barack's confidence and independent nature, often described as not being intimidated by credentials. While similar in values, she is not expected to pursue politics, preferring to blaze her own path outside the public spotlight.
Whoops. We got a little ad in there. Go.
He like father, like daughter traits and differences. This is somebody of confidence and personality. Barack Obama has noted that Sasha is completely confident about her own take on the world and is not easily intimidated, similar to his own composure. Independence, while she is close to her family, Sasha is considered more like Michelle in her determination, according to her grandmother, Marianne Robinson. Public service, though raised in the public eye, Sasha and her sister Malia are not expected to enter politics, as Barack aimed to shield them from the intense negativity of public life, says YouTube sources. Independence in career, similar to her sister Malia, who is forging a path in filmmaking, Sasha is described as proud and independent, choosing to make her own way rather than relying on her parents' fame, notes YouTube. Recent appearances, Sasha has been made rare public appearances, such as attending the 2026 NBA All-Star game with her parents. And next we can go to the video.
Alrighty, let me pull this down while y'all chit chat a minute. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Kim.
Fill those gaps.
Yep. Give us a thumbs up, everybody. It affects the algorithm.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it does. Yep.
All righty, here we go.
Barack and Michelle Obama was born in 2001 and has grown up under the spotlight, sharing a special bond with her older sister, Malia. From accompanying her father on the campaign trail to graduating from USC in 2023, Sasha has displayed a striking resemblance to her father, not just in appearance but also in charisma, intelligence, and humor. The father-daughter duo shares similar facial features, skin tone, and height. Sasha inherited her dad's wit and charm, often seen sharing laughter and common interests like sports, music, and books. Their close and loving relationship is evident, with Barack frequently expressing pride in Sasha's maturity, resilience, and kindness. Sasha, in turn, views her father as a role model and best friend, appreciating his leadership, courage, and generosity. Beyond physical likeness, Sasha and Barack share core values of confidence, ambition, and compassion. They both strive to make a positive impact. Let us subscribe to the iconic faces. Sasha Obama.
I love that. I love.
And what I thought was, I thought he was a good president. Some things I agree with, some things I didn't, but for the most part, I agreed with the things he did. And he did his best to bring this country, back to profitable, because people were losing their homes, they were losing their jobs, and he helped everybody. And now, it's like Donald Trump hated Obama so much. He hated him and Biden that he wants to make sure he destroys this country now. So I just wanted people to reflect on what a good president looks like, and his daughters, he has some nice daughters also. And I'm surprised. I'm not surprised they don't want to go in his footsteps, because I don't think I could be a politician. Not in the evil ways they talk about people.
And what a great family unit they are. They're always so loving. Every time you see them in public, it's like an Italian family gathering. I mean, you're just hugging and holding hands and kissing on the cheek. I mean, it's refreshing to see people who are comfortable expressing their love to each other.
And Michelle's not slapping Obama's hand away.
Yeah. Thank you, Marla. Yeah, she wants to hold his hand.
Yeah.
I would too.
Some of my one of my favorite things is when I hear them interviewing him specifically, and they'll bring up like Michelle, and he's always like, she's both the beauty and the brains. I don't know how I got so lucky. And he praises the ground that woman walks on, and rightfully so. And like when we're watching that video about the daughters with Obama, like it's so refreshing to see that right now. And like, I mean, personally, I have a similar relationship with my own dad, but like I'm as I'm watching that video, I'm thinking like nobody in the Trump family has ever even had anything close to that. And like I'm just thinking about all of this corruption and just the disgusting family unit that they all are, and from what we had to what we have now, and it's just
And it's all about the money, Katie.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That Orange family is just, they are only focused on money.
That was great.
That orange.
I'm still amazed that he wants to sue Internal Revenue for $10 billion, and that's actually all of our money.
Yeah.
Yes. They just won. We're going to talk about the grifting a little bit. Anything else, Andrea? Thank you for the uplifting.
Yeah, and that's what I needed today. And I said, I said I'm going to lead them with something uplifting today. So
I should leave it there.
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Of course.
I think the president and the president's family set a tone, and they set a good model for the country. or they set a model for the country, for better or for worse. And the previous presidents we've had in the past 20 years have wonderful children who are hardworking, have established their own identities. They are lovely people. And then you have the current occupant of the White House and his family. And look at where our country is now. And look at the example they are setting. We need to do better the next time. And there will be a next time. We will have a 2028 election. We need to do better and get back to the good families that set a good standard for the country.
Yeah. The fish rots from the head.
I would give anything to hear from those young people, from the previous families. Like, what do they really think about how this family is acting and the nastiness that they bring to the table? From John Jr. right across Miss Silent Yavanka. So it'll be really interesting to hear from a Sasha or a Malia or Amy or Amy, even Jenna Bush, the twins.
I think the I've Had It ladies interviewed Chelsea Clinton a little while ago, and they talked about it a little bit, and it's a very good interview. So I would definitely look that up for what they talk about.
Definitely. Okay, before we go to August on the Move, I just have a couple of news items to bring up quickly. First of all, we need to keep our eyes on this. Iran's foreign minister vows to exact heavy price after some recent strikes on key facilities. Evidently, Israel hit two of Iran's largest steel factories, a power plant, and civilian nuclear sites, among other infrastructure. Israel claims it acted in coordination with the U.S. So I was listening to a little bit of the foreign minister this morning, and I'll put the link to that in the description. It's interesting to listen to. So we got to keep our eye on that. And now this I found interesting, and it's supposedly, I haven't had the chance to fact check it, so I am going to preface that right now. This is supposedly, and we'll listen to this gentleman. Yeah, we'll listen to this.
Trump's latest attempt to turn the typical up on Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu for the war that they started. They've put together a very impressive video to let them know their judgment awaits. Oh, yes, and it has to do with the Epstein files. I must say that I am.
Maybe it's not all about bombing.
Right.
Maybe it's about information.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that to be quite interesting. What are your thoughts on that?
Very powerful.
Very
And-
powerful. Yes.
Yeah, and
I'm like,
also,
Ryan, that was
not
intense.
only- I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's not only about the Epstein files, but also those children that were bombed in Iran.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Gaza.
Yep.
And Gaza.
Yep.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah, with all
I feel-
this, I think one of the things we can't forget is
I feel like Donald Trump thinks this is a game. To me, when I listen to him talk on television and listen to how they say he reacts like he's bored or something, and he wants to, I mean, they said before he was ever president, and they used to laugh about it and say if he ever had the button or the code to put, the code to the bombs or the button to push, that we would be in trouble. Why didn't they believe what they said? I don't understand why they didn't believe what they said. because we are in trouble.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah. Huge.
You know, we
Huge.
don't know. We don't know if it's going to be a 911. You know, September 11th. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know when we're gonna, how we're gonna get it, or when we're gonna get it.
I'm waiting for Iran to leak the unredacted Epstein files, because I mean they've hacked into Patel's personal email. They exposed
Yep.
that. I'm just waiting because I am sure that they can do it.
Don't you think that's what they're referring to in that video?
I think so. I do.
I think so too. Just a couple of other things before we move on. I don't know if you've heard this, but the Justice Department agrees to pay ex-Trump advisor Michael Flynn in a settlement over wrongful prosecution lawsuit. You know, the one he pled guilty to.
I'm sorry, bullshit. This is the worst misjustice. Like, I work in legal, and to me, like a judge actually dismissed this case as frivolous, basically. Say he was convicted. It doesn't matter if, you get pardoned, that means your record got, expunged, but you still pled guilty. And he is now in the civil court. It's 51% on the preponderance of the evidence. And even a judge was like, yeah, this is stupid.
It's another grift. It's another grift to take our money. That's it. People need to really just.
What happened with Cohen? What happened with Cohen, though? You know, why did he go back on Trump's side?
He
did when the Epstein thing all came out. So.
Oh.
I'm not gonna say, but it was a Cody.
I think he
just
involved
wants to be,
in it.
I think he wants to be pardoned.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe. Okay, one more, and then we're gonna go to August on the Move. So again, Gavin Newsom spends a lot of time rent-free in his head as well, right? So our governor in California, who's one of the candidates, this is Trump. I believe he took himself out of the running when he says that he suffers mental disability. Just for clarity, Newsom has dyslexia. I don't want a person with mental disability to be the president. You don't want a person with mental disability to be the president.
We got one.
No, we do not. That's why we want him
And a
to
reporter
go.
said it was terrible that I talked that way about somebody with mental disability. I said, I have no problem with it, but I don't want a person with mental disability to be my president. I mean,
well, you
don't want to have a person with mental disability being your president. And Gavin Newsom said that he can't read a speech. He can't do almost anything. And then he said he's as dumb as all the people in the room. And he got accused of being a racist, which was an amazing thing. I thought it was the worst interview I've ever seen anybody give. He's actually a very stupid person. So I believe he's out of the running. I think that statement, that interview.
Can we stop?
He admitted that he's a stupid person.
Yeah.
I don't want a stupid person being president. You know?
It's uncanny this person is actually our president.
He's looking in the mirror and talking to himself.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Momo. Thank you.
Thank you. President. Well, we got it.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the latest news. So right now it's time for August on the Move.
Yes, I am on the move, and you guys want me to follow up after Trump? OMG. Well, let's talk about our allies out there. We do have our allies, and our allies are preparing for America. I have never seen anything like that. We have lost the room. So let's listen to Rachel Maddow and get the inside scoop.
Uh-oh.
There's no sound.
No sound.
Yeah, no sound, August.
Trying to pull it in.
Okay.
Never in my wildest dreams or yours did you think that our allies would be preparing to stop a U.S. invasion of their territory?
No.
No.
I feel like we're upside. I don't even know what world. I told you I'm living the dream.
Oh, we're in the twilight zone.
Mm-hmm. That's my dream.
I mean, this is
Denmark was ready to blow up airfields to stop a U.S. invasion of Greenland.
Somehow the leaders of Earth 2 found their way to Earth 1. We've been invaded.
This is like if the Upside Down and the Bad Place had a hate child and we are stuck in it. Like, that's what it is.
Over Greenland.
It's crazy.
I feel like I'd rather deal with Vecna than Trump.
Yeah, because at least we've got what's her face? Oh, I can't think of her name now.
Did you really deal with who?
Vecna. He's from Stranger Things, the TV show.
Oh, okay.
August, you want to throw me the link? I can pull it up.
All right.
While we're chit-chatting, if you have something else you want to go to, I'll get this ready.
Andre, Stranger Things?
Yeah, I don't watch it.
I know.
It's so good.
I don't know why.
It's so good. It's so good.
Winona Ryder. At least we got Winona Ryder.
Right. That's why I should watch it, huh? It's on Netflix, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
What is it called again?
Stranger
Things.
I just watched the first season.
Okay.
Yeah, me too, and I couldn't get back into it. But it was good.
It's interesting.
I've been watching DTF a little bit.
Oh, I want to watch that.
We are having a moment of sort of unbelievably dramatic news that's like, if you were pitching a movie, the people you were pitching it to would say, no, that's too over the top. We can't do that. Denmark reportedly sent soldiers just a few weeks ago. They sent soldiers to Greenland armed with explosives and blood supplies. The explosives were to blow up the runways at airports in Greenland, and the blood supplies were in anticipation of combat casualties in a conflict with the United States. That is, if the U.S. could find a way to put U.S. troops on the ground in Greenland without landing on the blown up airfields. Think about that for a second. I mean, Denmark, it's freaking Denmark. They are literally and officially our ally, but they had to send troops out with live ammunition and blood supplies and live explosives, not for an exercise, not for training, but on a real deployment on which they planned to disable the airfields in Greenland to protect their territory against us, against the United States.
Wow. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
You know you've messed up when like you've pissed off Denmark and Sweden and Norway and all the Nordic countries, and they're just like, no, I'm done with this.
Yep.
And the only reason they haven't attacked us is because they care for the citizens, I believe. They know it's not.
We lost August. Okay, let's do a funny. Andrea brought us a funny. Andrea always brings us a funny.
Yeah.
Let me make sure I got the.
Oh God.
Here we go.
Oh Lord.
I'm laughing already.
Ma'am, don't pull up.
Call Trump. We just ain't got it. It's ridiculous out here. You hear me? I just left that station back on 41, put $110 in this car. 110.
That's a lot of money. I agree. Gas is just out of control.
Yeah, and I pulled off without paying because I don't have it. You told us prices were gonna come down.
We're working very hard.
Well, you better work fast. Hello? Yeah, put me through the trunk. Yeah, this Maserati red, the one that just left the gas station. $110 for half a tank. I'm on the interstate right now, and I need a stimulus check immediately because clearly inflation don't know who I am. And another thing, y'all need to run me my gas money back. No, don't transfer me. I need answers. So now they want to be fast. Hello? Yeah, put me back through the trunk. They done sent the police over gas. Sir, I'm currently being chased, and I'm not gonna stop. So go ahead and tell them to leave me alone. See, they yelling like I robbed the bank or something. I need you to handle this immediately before I take this to another.
That's awesome.
That's funny. Oh my god. All right, everybody. Well, we're waiting for August. Tomorrow, Saturday, March 28th, is No Kings Protest. If you can, we need to be out there. We need all hands on deck on this one. We will also be here live streaming starting at 11 p.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. So please come back and join us. We'll be taking a look at protests around the country. I will be one here locally streaming. So please, please, please join us and show your support for No Kings. No Kings.
No Kings.
And no Kings.
No
one more
evil
thing,
presidents. We got an evil president.
Oops. Almost lost you. We also are excited because we have merch. So We the People Unite, join the movement with some We the People merch. We have just some basics out there, but show your support. If you're going to a protest, I've got my hat. You can see it here. I'm wearing my shirt. I'll be out there tomorrow. And if you're so inclined, please support us with a little bit of merch. Before we head out, any last comments?
Check your voter registration, everyone, every month, because you could be taken off the rolls, the voter rolls.
In the SAVE Act, your name must match your registration. So if you were married and you can't prove the marriage, they're not going to let you vote. And hopefully no gerrymandering, changing the districts. I believe that's how, what's her name, in Texas lost.
Now would be
They didn't know where to go. They didn't know where to go to vote.
Yeah, now would be a good time to check all your paperwork, and if there's anything that you need to start working on getting, or retrieving, now would be the time. You still have some time to get those things in order.
Absolutely.
And if you are fearful, have someone go with you to a polling place. You don't have to go by yourself. There is safety in numbers, everyone. So ask a friend to go with you.
Jasmine
Absolutely.
Crockett. I had forgotten her name.
And for me, be glad you don't live in Southern California.
Oh, wow.
This was my gas yesterday.
That's crazy.
You're in the Bay Area too, Kim.
I was gonna say it's higher than that out here.
Yeah, I paid higher than
Northern
that.
Cali.
It keeps going every time I go. It keeps going up. So,
Andrea, are you thinking of Jasmine Crockett?
Yeah, that's what I said. It was Jasmine Crockett, and I'm like, I remembered. Okay, thank you, Lori.
All right, everybody in the chat, thank you so much for joining us. We love having you here. We love talking with you and hearing your comments and what you're thinking about all of this, because it's We the People Unite. It's all of us, not just us on the panel, but it's everyone who joins us, everyone who's part of this movement. So again, please like and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, so we can get more, so we can reach more people. And if you are so inclined, we would love for you to become a member and support our work. And remember, we will be here tomorrow. All right, everybody. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. Be safe.
One person can make a difference.
Yes. Article 2, Section 4.
Article 2, Section 4.
We'll see you all next week. Have a good one.
Bye, all.
We the people unite.